and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Now, I'm going to start with a little explanation. I have been somewhat absent of late. I have been having a few more problems with my health. Fingers crossed, there's been some improvement on that front, which is brilliant. But I've also had a lot more going on in my life. That's the truth of it. Real life has got in the way of the miniatures. That, and I've been somewhat lacking inspiration. I don't know what it is. It happens every so often. But none of the projects that I'm currently working on are really taking hold of me. Now, I will go back to them, but at the moment I'm trying to find things that are taking my interest. We've actually had a very nice spring here in the UK. It has been exceptionally warm and dry, and that means that I've been spending a lot of time in my garden. And to be fair, I've actually got to the point where there's not a lot I need to do out there at the moment. So I really should be back here making the most of the time I've got in the craft room. So with that in mind, today I'm going to try and do a few more tidying up, finishing off tasks. I'm not 100% sure of everything that's going to be covered in this video because, I'm not 100% sure where I'm at with most anything. But we're going to try and do some bits to tidy some things up, and then hopefully then I will feel more able to start the next part of my dead end project. Now, I do know which one that is going to be, and I do know the story behind it. It always helps if I've got the story behind it, but maybe I'll tell you a bit more about that later in the video. I thought I would start with some 3D printed bits that I've had sitting on my desk since I bought them. These are pieces that I want for a previous project. Well, they're both for projects that I've completed, but one you've seen and the other you haven't seen yet. So the one that you haven't seen is actually for my boar's head. And I've just pulled this out and realised that some of the furniture isn't glued in. One piece I knew isn't glued in. That's this little bedside cabinet here. I've got a sort of part anchoring to put a little chamber pot in there. So I never glued it in place. And then also the little washstand in the back of there wasn't glued down. I have now stuck it in place. Now, when I first started doing this, and I'm going to pull down here, where I've got now a till, I wanted a barrel. I wanted a barrel to sit on the bar, and I couldn't find one. And in last year's advent calendar, Petite Properties included some barrels and a barrel stand. And they also then released the barrels separately. And so I got a pair of them, little barrels with a tap. Now, what I'm hoping, if I can actually see if this will fit, is if I can actually get one of these to sit on my dresser in there, and I can. So I think this is going to be the first thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to have a go at painting this barrel and fit it into place in my club room. I think that's quite a suitable addition. And I've also got some sacks, some smaller sacks and a larger sack. Now, I'm not sure which of these I'm going to include, whether I'm going to use all three of the smaller ones, smaller one and the larger one, but they're going to go into my Christmas post office, which you will be seeing in a few weeks now, I think. And yeah, I'll be showing you those, but they won't actually be in the video because the video's all done, edited and actually scheduled on YouTube, which is quite confusing. But this is the way it goes with dolls' houses. They are never really 100% finished. There will always be little things that you'll see and have to add. Whether it's 1/12 scale, 1/48 scale, or something else, you will find pieces that you've just got to put in. It has taken me a while longer than I would have liked, but I have done the painting of the barrel. It's not brilliant, but to be fair, it's not going to be particularly visible. It's more a case of I'll know that it's done. So next step is for me to glue this into place in the club room, which is going to be fun. So I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll come back and give you a look. There we have it in place. Hopefully you can see that. I've got a barrel on my dresser and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Another little detail added to the scene. My next job was the mail sacks. Well, these are actually just sold as sacks, one large and then 3 smaller ones that seem to fit together quite nicely. So I've stuck them together to make it easier to fit them into my project. And all I've done with these is I've painted them a lighter shade of grey and I've written RM on them in red. Now, Royal Mail in the UK, I don't know if they still do, did used to use a lighter grey mail sack with an RM on them. So I think that's good enough for this scale. So I'm going to, again, get these stuck into the property, and then I will give you a little sneak peek of what is to come in an upcoming video. So I'll get these done. Now I've got this in quite close because I don't want to show you too much of this project, but the larger one is there in the foreground of the scene, and then the 3 together are there in the background. And if you'd like to see more of my Christmas post office, keep watching the channel, subscribe, etc. The video is forthcoming. It has been a few days since I recorded the previous section, and I'd actually been away. And I had an unplanned order. I say unplanned. I kind of was planning an order, but I wasn't planning for it to be part of this video. And it came incredibly quickly, so I'm going to share it with you. Now, the main thing that I've ordered is actually for my 1/12 scale doll's house, which has been somewhat neglected this year. But because this doll's house in some ways reflects me, I always thought there should be a doll's house in there, but none of the doll's houses for a doll's house that I found were quite right. I wanted something that was a bit different, and last month my favourite Petite Properties launched one of their newest properties in 1/144th scale doll's house for a doll's house, and that is the Folly. So I've had to order it, and I will be building that soon to go in the doll's house. It's going to be tiny. The little finial that goes on top is absolutely tiny. And I've also bought the display table, just a little table there. I think that's going to be absolutely excellent. Now, the other thing I've ordered is the start of something different. And this is in 1/76 scale, which is 00 gauge, railway gauge. And this is a little boathouse from Port Piran. I'm going to be buying more properties for this, but I don't know how much room I'm going to have yet. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I'm planning on, well, it's going to be a special project. But I know that this one, which is only a very small kit, I'm going to have room for. So I thought I'd buy that, I can build it, I can get an idea for the actual scale of the buildings, because this isn't a scale I've worked in before. And I was having trouble from the measurements actually visualising in my head. So that's one to watch out for. I will show you what's going on with that at some point in the future. And obviously, when the Folly comes together, there'll be a video on that. So, little haul aside, I think it's time to get on with something again. And I'm going to do something for my doll's house, my big house, the one that I class as a doll's house. And it's actually been inspired by some waste. I know you all like these waste videos. This is a cap. This is actually a cap that came off a gas canister from my soda stream. If you don't know what a soda stream is, it is a little device for carbonating water. So you can make your own fizzy water at home. And when I had to change the gas canister, which is not very big really, this was the lid that came off it. And I actually thought that was quite cool because it's got texture to it. It's not, you know, just rings. And so I did think that I would try and paint this up as a metal piece, maybe to go in the fireplace in the dining room. The dining room still needs work. I need to get on with another room, but I'm also acutely aware that the dining room isn't done. Part of the reason for that is I'm very much of I want the dining room to be dressable. And at the moment, I'm having a few issues with deciding how I want it to be dressed when it's not decorated for an occasion. Halloween is fine, Christmas is fine, those I can do. I can do it for a party if I want. But I just need to decide what the everyday look of that room's going to be. Anyway, that aside, I think I'm going to try and turn this into a nice sort of metallic pot that I can possibly put some kind of a display. Now, I'm not fancying the idea of putting flowers as such in there. I've got a few ideas, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But we'll start by painting it. I had a few issues with painting this. Now, I've painted lots of things, lots of materials, and made them metallic. I don't know if it was the paint that I used, but this gave me some problems. Now, I started off, as I often do when doing metallics, with a black undercoat. I go for a black undercoat because then once I put the metallic paint over the top, I can get what I think of as a more natural, worn look. And it was a different black paint to what I normally use. and I think I didn't let it dry long enough, and I did have a few problems with it peeling off in places. You can possibly see on the inside where it hasn't done exactly what I wanted, but it was still usable. I then tried to put the metallic over the top. Now I bought a different metallic paint because my carefully hoarded stash of metallic acrylic paints are starting to get past it. So I'm looking for something else. And this one, which was brass, it's okay. It's not my favourite, but we can make it work. I must be determined it can make it work, because I actually bought one in a rose gold colour yesterday, which is one that I've never had before. And I thought, ooh, that might be interesting. Could be famous last words. So obviously I painted the outside with that, and as you can see, I've got a kind of worn look, especially on that side, which I like. That side's a bit more finished, but that's the kind of look that I want. Now I want to use this to go into my fireplace in my big house's dining room. When I did the previous video on some decorations for the dining room, I included a floral piece. I don't want to put flowers in this. Now I could. Putting a flower arrangement in the fireplace is an acceptable sort of look. But what I thought was, I'm going to do something a bit different. Now I'm going to start with a piece of air dry clay. Now, I know it's white. That doesn't matter. I'm just going to put it in and I'm going to push it down. Now I'm not worried about this fitting too perfectly. It will be covered. You know, I'm going to cover that. I painted the inside black. It just means that any little bit that is visible isn't going to stand out like a sore thumb. So what am I going to put in there? Well, I'm going to make a different arrangement, and I'm going to use some beading wire. This is black beading wire in a 28 gauge, so it's quite fine. And I'm going to use some confetti, which I've got on the side of my desk. And I've got some bats going with the motif that I've used throughout the dining room, and I've got a moon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these onto wires, and then I'm going to put them into this, and I'm going to make these the focus of my arrangement. Now, I've got 6 bats and obviously just 1 moon. I'm hoping that's going to be enough. I have got more bats. I can add more if I want. The other thing I am going to do is I'm going to fill the inside of the top of the pot with a little bit of moss, just to cover that up, so don't panic. Now I'm going to go and have some fun sticking wire onto these. It'll either work really, really easily, or it'll take me ages. So I'm going to do it off camera, and I'll come back and show you what we've got. And here we have my finished pot of bats. Now, because these bats are shiny, I'm hoping that they will show up, even though the inside of my fireplace is also black, but that's matte, so I'm hoping it'll show up. Certainly the gold moon shows up. I tried that in there just to see how big it was, how big I could go, and yeah, I like it. I've put a couple of little tendrils of wire. That's just wire wrapped around something narrow. I use my tool for making holes. You could use a cocktail stick, anything like that. It just adds a bit more texture. I might poke this one out a bit. And all of these pieces I have also glued into the air dry clay I put in there. The air dry clay isn't yet dry, so hopefully everything will stay in place. Otherwise I'll be applying a lot more glue in the future. But yeah, there it is. A piece to go in my dining room. And I've got to admit that having bought the doll's house to go in the doll's house, I'm feeling perhaps a little bit more inspired. Not as inspired as I would like to be, but it's maybe leaning me back towards doing some more 1/12 scale stuff. I think what I need to do is go away, sit down and do some planning. A bit boring really, but I think planning is called for. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this little video, tying up a few loose ends because they needed doing. I'm pleased with the bits that I've put into my 1/48 scale properties. I'm pleased with this. I will be putting it into the dining room very, very shortly. And if you have enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe. It all helps my channel. And consider ringing that notification bell, because then YouTube should let you know when I put out a new video, which at the moment I'm not sure when it is. I will say though that towards the end of this month there is a Christmas video scheduled. Well, a Christmas village build. It's not really Christmas, but you know, that's scheduled. That's coming up. Hopefully there'll be more in the meantime. I don't know. It depends how I feel and how everything goes. But until next time, bye.